everyone. I want to introduce myself. I'm Alfirizky. I will explain about the three major parts of history of Spain from early modern Spain, the War of Spain independence and American War independence. And the last is Spanish Civil War. And before I explain about the history of Spain, do you know where Spain was before? If not, I will go straight to the point about the history of Spain. Which is the first is modern Spain. The first is dynastic union of the Catholic monarchs. That era was in the 15th century and tells about the death of King Henry IV of Castile in 1474, set off a struggle for power called the War of Castilian Succession. The contenders for the throne of Castile were Henry one times heir Joanna I Bentanilla, supported by Portugal and France, and Henry's half-sister Queen Isabella I of Castile, supported by the Kingdom of Aragon and by the Castilian nobility. The second is the Spanish Empire. Spanish Empire was one of the first global empires. It was also the one of the largest empires in world history. The two kingdoms on the Conquest and Iberian Peninsula compete with each other in opening trade routes across the oceans. Spanish imperial conquest and colonization began with the Canary Islands, and which is began the Castilian conquest of the Canary Island, complete in 1495. The third is Spanish kingdom under the Great of Habsburgs. Spain World Empire reached is the greatest territorial extent in the late of 18th century, but it was under the Habsburg dynasty in the 16th and 17th centuries, reached the peak of its power and declined. In 1640, the House of Braganza revolted against Spanish rule and reasserted Portugal independent. The fourth is Cultural Golden Age, Siglo de Oro, was a period of flourishing arts and letters in the Spanish Empire. Arts flourished despite the decline of the empire in 17th century. The last great writer of the age, Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz, died in New Spain in 1695. The fifth is decline under the Minas Habsburg. Spain suffered financial difficulties began in the middle of 16th century and continued for the remainder of Habsburg rule. Spanish kings were forced to declare sovereign default 9 times between 1557 and 1666. After the early modern Spain, there were a War of Spanish independence and American independence. There were two eras. The first is War of Spanish independence. In the late 18th century, Spain had alliance with France, and therefore they didn't have to fear a land of war. When the French Revolution overthrew the Bourbons, a land war with France became a threat which the king tried to avoid. The Spanish army was ill prepared. The second is independence of Spanish America. Spain lost of all of its North and South American territories except Cuba and Puerto Rico in a complex series of revolt 188 until 1826. Trade was handled by the American and Dutch traders. The War of Spanish Independence and America War's Independence, there was a Spanish Civil War. The Spanish Civil War was started by a military coup d'etat on 70 until 18 July 1836 against the Republican government. The coup, intending the presidential social and economic reform carried by the new government, had been carefully plotted since the electoral wing defeat, right wing defeat at the February 19 1936 election. Well, ladies and gentlemen, from the discussion earlier, that I have concluded that this Spanish country has a lot of history and also many wars from abroad and within the country, and also this country has many regions, so many of them were colonized by the other countries and tribes. I want to say thank you very much to watch the video and apologize. I apologize if there are any errors in the words or pronunciation of what I said earlier. Thank you very much.